Hello. Today I'd like to talk about the Melanarus wrasse. I know I've done some videos on this guy in the past. It is the oldest fish. It is the last remnant from my old 36 gallon. It is the only thing I have left from that tank. So it is a long-standing fish. I've had it for just over a year. The Melanarus wrasse is a really interesting fish. If you've seen the male color combinations on these things, the males are absolutely stunning. They get that blue, the red, the green, striped all over the place. This one is still currently a juvenile. It has not reached full sexual maturity yet, and as such, I have no idea what it's going to do. Now, the Melanarus wrasse, generally speaking, is considered peaceful. However, it can be assertive, particularly if it views something as an intruder once it's established. Or, the good news is, on the flip side, if another fish tries to bully it, it will stick up for itself. So it, in my opinion, has a pretty good balance in terms of aggression. It's not overly aggressive, other than maybe other wrasses once it's established, but it will stick up for itself. I saw when I first put my yellow tang and coral beauty into the tank, they both tried to intimidate the wrasse, and the wrasse decided it wasn't having any of it. It didn't care. It went after the yellow tang after the yellow tang tried to get aggressive, actually chased its tail, scalpel and all, and put the coral beauty in check real quick, saying, hey, back off. I was here first, and I'm not going to be pushed around. And so they pretty much left him alone after that. So hats off to the Melanarus wrasse for being a good fish, for sticking up for itself. As mentioned, though, the one thing you do want to watch out for with Melanarus wrasse in terms of other fish, once it is established, it can be assertive, particularly if you're adding another wrasse. This guy gave my poor leopard wrasse one heck of a time and a beating. For the first couple weeks I had them together in the tank. I was actually right at the point where I was getting ready to pull the leopard wrasse out, and then finally it settled in. There is still a little bit of territorial aggression every now and then. They flare up at each other, but it's very short-lived, and there's no biting or any serious injuries involved. It's just more of a, hey, this is my turf, and you better back off sort of thing. See it a little bit more at feeding time, but occasionally, every now and then, you'll see them square off against each other and flare up their fins. But as I said, it's pretty mild, not anything major. The Melanarus wrasse is listed as reef safe with caution. I have seen it take a couple of exploratory nips at my frog spawn and hammer coral, but it definitely doesn't like the taste, because it spits whatever tiny little chunk it gets out of its mouth, and just like, ooh, I don't like that. So it's more of an exploratory nip than it is, trying to really chew on or devour a coral. So the Melanarus wrasse will leave, generally speaking, is known for leaving corals alone. However, the other reason it's listed is with caution. This guy will munch on invertebrates. At some point, you will probably lose some snails, hermit crabs, and even smaller shrimp, I would say. He was pretty good with my first cleaner shrimp, which I had in the tank before it went in. Second cleaner shrimp I put in there was a little bit smaller, did not last 24 hours. I came in the morning, and both my Melanarus and my coral beauty were tearing it apart. So unfortunately, since then, I've just basically said, okay, I'm going to steer clear of shrimp for a while, and, just let, I still do snails and have a few hermit crabs in here and stuff like that. And occasionally it does pick them off. but it's not going in and just completely, you know, devouring every single invert inside. It's just, you know, a periodic, it'll pick them off. So be aware that you are going to have to slowly but surely replace your cleanup crew if you do have a Melanarus wrasse in there, and really any of the H variety, the Halosaurus wrasses in your tank. You're going to need to be prepared for that. Now, the advantage to these guys is that if you happen to have actual live rock in your tank, they are known for eating bristleworms and the dreaded fireworm, provided, you know, they catch them when they're smaller. Which, of course, anything that eats fireworms, in my opinion, is a good thing, because fireworms are, quite frankly, they're a major menace. If they're left unchecked, they will outgrow and kill everything in your tank. So it's good to have something in there that will make a snack out of them if they ever raise their head. So, and there are examples of these eating bristleworms, as well as those pyramid snails. So you just, if you have any of those issues, or you have the actual live rock in there, then this is an excellent pest remover to have. A lot of people say, hey, go get a 6-line. Well, if you've done your research into a 6-line wrasse, you know that about a year or two in, once they hit sexual maturity, they basically turn into the spawn of Satan, and they can go on sprees where they kill the fish, inverts, and just about everything else in your tank. So if you have a tank of, say, 50, 55 gallons or larger, a Melanarus wrasse is definitely a much better alternative than the 6-line wrasse. And quite frankly, its coloration is stunning. You know, I have another video for a male that I had in my tank for a short period of time, if you want to get an idea of what one looks like when it's fully mature. And as you can see here, even though it's rather dull in coloration for the most part, if you zoom in just a little bit, you can see it still has, you know, stripes that are there. Right now they're kind of a yellow and light blue. Melanarus wrasse are one of the species of wrasse that has the ability to change gender. So if you have one that is, if you have a couple of females in there, what will happen is that the larger one will begin to exhibit the behavior of a male and asserting more dominance and that sort of thing, and then eventually will officially and actually become a male. So kind of like a clownfish might switch genders, the wrasses, the Melanarus, has the ability to do so, as does the leopard, by the way. Both of them have the ability to change gender. So at this point, I'm just simply calling it a juvenile. I know I've called it a he sometimes, but truth be told, I don't know if this is going to be a he or she. It's too young to tell yet. So I just simply call it a juvenile wrasse. Anyways, this is an excellent fish, in addition to add to the tank. If you're looking, particularly if you've got a 4-foot long tank, and are looking to add some activity, some color, you want something that's bold, but it isn't necessarily going to be a jerk to its tank mates, I do strongly recommend the Halosaurus wrasses, particularly the Melanarus here, also known as the Hoevens or Pinstripe or Tailspot. They have a bunch of different names. So if you hear any of those names, that's the Melanarus wrasse. They also have in the Halosaurus varieties the Christmas wrasse. Just make sure you get the Claudia variety and not the Ornamentasis, because they can be aggressive, or the red line. Those are the three that I would recommend if you're looking for a relatively peaceful fish that will add color, personality to your tank. This wrasse will go through, it'll go through and do circles, it'll do loops, and do it repeatedly around the tank. I've actually seen this one kind of dance for its dinner, so to speak. When it knows it's feeding time, it'll sit there and do loops around the tank and twitch back and forth saying, hey, it's time to feed us. I've also seen it where it goes. It is one of the wrasses that will bury itself in the sand at night. So you do want to make sure you either have a sand bed or you need to have some form of some people have done like a Tupperware container where they put some sand in the bottom there, and that gives the fish somewhere to bury itself at night if they have a bare bottom tank. So I've seen it done that way as well. Ideally, though, really, they do best in a tank that has a, I don't know, a 2 to 3 inch sand bed. It doesn't require a super deep sand bed because they flop on their side, flop back and forth until they kind of bury themselves in the sand. Which is different from the leopard wrasse, which basically just plows straight in and then comes straight out head first. So it is a little bit different in that way. But anyways, that is the Melanarus wrasse, and thank you for watching.